The Bramford Hotel stood as a monument to a forgotten era. Its grandeur had faded, replaced by an unsettling stillness. Whispers of its past echoed through the halls. They spoke of a room 103, forever marked by tragedy. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where reality itself seemed to warp. At the heart of the room's darkness was a mirror, an antique, ornately framed. Its silvered surface was clouded with age. But it was more than just old, it was said to be cursed. Guests who dared to stay in room 103 spoke of a presence reflected back at them. Not their own, but something sinister, something hungry. The legend of the Mirror Man had haunted the Bramford for decades. Each story ended the same way, with the guest fleeing before dawn, or not at all. Some whispered of being watched, their reflections mimicking their movements with chilling precision. Others told of seeing figures emerge from the mirror's depths, reaching out with grasping claws. The hotel staff avoided room 103. They knew its secrets, the terror that lurked within those four walls. The room remained empty, a testament to the fear it inspired. It awaited its next victim, its next soul to claim. Mia Gray scoffed at the stories. A writer drawn to the macabre, she was a skeptic at heart. She didn't believe in ghosts or curses. To her, the legend of the Mirror Man was nothing more than a clever fabrication, a way to attract thrill seekers and boost the hotel's dwindling reputation. Determined to prove the rumors false, Mia decided to spend a night in room 103. She envisioned herself sitting in the darkness, penning a scathing exposé that would debunk the myth. Once and for all, she imagined the smug satisfaction of proving everyone wrong. Armed with her laptop, a healthy dose of skepticism and a thermos of coffee, Mia checked into the Bramford. The air grew heavy with the scent of dust and decay as she made her way to the infamous room. She ignored the prickling sensation on the back of her neck, attributing it to the musty atmosphere. This was her chance to expose the truth, to show the world that fear was nothing but a figment of the imagination. But as she stood before the imposing door of room 103, a sliver of doubt crept into her mind. Was she being foolish, or was there truly something sinister lurking within? The Bramford Hotel was a symphony of shadows and silence. Dust motes danced in the faint slivers of light that pierced the heavy drapes in the lobby. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a musty reminder of the building's age and neglect. A grandfather clock ticked slowly, its rhythmic pulse a morbid metronome counting down the seconds. The receptionist, a gaunt man with haunted eyes, seemed hesitant as he handed Mia the key to room 103. "Not many stay in that room," he mumbled, his voice barely a whisper. "It's got a reputation." Mia just smiled, her skepticism a shield against the unease that threatened to engulf her. "That's what I'm here to find out," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor that ran through her. The hallway to room 103 was a descent into darkness. The flickering gaslights cast grotesque shadows on the walls, dancing like phantoms as Mia passed. Each step seemed to echo louder, amplifying the silence that surrounded her. The door to room 103 was heavy, its brass knob cold and damp under her touch. As she pushed it open, a musty, stale odor wafted out, as if the room itself was exhaling a breath it had been holding for centuries. Room 103 was a study in neglect. Heavy velvet curtains, faded and threadbare, blocked out the weak light from the street lamps below. The air hung heavy, thick with dust and the oppressive weight of forgotten memories. Mia set her bag down on the dusty writing desk, its surface covered in a thin layer of grime. The silence in the room was almost deafening. No hum of traffic, no distant sirens, just an unnerving stillness that seemed to press in on her from all sides. She walked over to the large, ornately framed mirror that dominated one wall. Its surface was clouded, the silvering blackened with age, giving her reflection a hazy, spectral quality. She ran a finger over the cold glass, a shiver running down her spine. For the first few hours, nothing happened. The silence remained unbroken, save for the frantic clatter of keys as Mia typed away at her laptop. She wrote about the hotel's history, about the legends surrounding room 103, all the while feeling a growing sense of unease. Section 5. A glimmer in the glass. Hours crawled by, each tick of the grandfather clock down the hall a hammer blow against Mia's resolve. The silence of room 103 was starting to get to her, wrapping around her like a shroud. She tried to focus on her writing, but the words felt hollow, meaningless. Glancing up from her laptop, she noticed something odd, a flicker of movement in the mirror. She paused, holding her breath, her gaze fixed on the clouded glass. At first, she dismissed it as a trick of the light, but then it happened again. This time there was no mistaking it. Her reflection moved, but not in unison with her. It raised a hand, slowly, deliberately, while hers remained still on the keyboard. A cold dread washed over her, prickling her skin with gooseflesh. Section 6. The reflection's disturbing dance. The movement in the mirror was subtle at first, a slight tilt of the head, a slow blink of an eye, but as the minutes ticked by, it became more pronounced, more brazen. The reflection began to mimic Mia's movements, but with a disturbingly exaggerated quality. It mocked her, its every gesture a grotesque parody of her own. Fear coiled in Mia's stomach, cold and tight. This was no trick of the light, no figment of her imagination. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The reflection was no longer a reflection, it was something else. Something independent and malevolent. It reached out from the mirror, long spidery fingers scrabbling at the glass. A high-pitched whine filled the room, setting her teeth on edge. The temperature plummeted, the air turning icy and thin. The scent of ozone filled her nostrils, sharp and acrid. Mia wanted to scream, to run, to tear herself away from the horrifying spectacle unfolding before her. But she was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by a fear so profound it stole her breath away. Section 7. Through the looking glass, a terrifying journey. The mirror, once a dull and clouded surface, began to glow. It pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed on the walls. The air crackled with energy, charged with an unseen force that made Mia's hair stand on end. Her reflection, now fully animated, grinned at her, its teeth sharp and predatory. It beckoned her closer, its voice a raspy whisper that seemed to slither into her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. Terror lent her a burst of adrenaline. She scrambled back from the mirror, her heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. But it was too late. The room around her began to distort, the walls seeming to bend and buckle. The floor tilted beneath her feet, sending her crashing to the ground. A high-pitched shriek escaped her lips as she felt herself being pulled inexorably towards the mirror. It was like falling into a whirlpool, a vortex of swirling colors and distorted sounds. Then everything went black. Section 8. The Vanishing of Mia Gray. The morning sun, weak and watery, cast long shadows across the dusty lobby of the Bramford Hotel. The grandfather clock chimed 8 times, its mournful toll echoing through the empty halls. The receptionist, his face drawn and pale, glanced nervously at the clock. Mia Gray had not checked out. He knocked tentatively on the door of room 103, his knuckles rapping against the aged wood. Silence greeted him. He knocked again, louder this time, his unease growing with each passing second. Still no answer. Using the master key, he cautiously unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room was empty. The bed remained untouched, the sheets still crisp and undisturbed. Mia's laptop sat open on the desk, her coffee cup half full beside it. The only sign that she had ever been there at all was the lingering scent of her perfume, a faint floral aroma that did little to dispel the sense of unease that permeated the air. Section 9. Trapped in the mirror's grip. He stood before the mirror, its surface no longer clouded, but eerily clear. Reflected back at him was not the dimly lit room, but a desolate landscape. It was a place of shadows and whispers, where gnarled trees clawed at a sky the color of ash. And then he saw her. Trapped within the mirror's depths, Mia Gray stared back at him. Her face was a mask of terror, her eyes wide and pleading. She pressed her hands against the glass, her fingers splayed as if trying to claw her way out. Her lips moved, but no sound reached him. It was the silent scream of a soul in torment, a desperate plea for help that would never be heard. Section 10. The legend continues. The legend of the Mirror Man was no longer a legend, it was a terrifying reality, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. Room 103 remained empty, sealed off, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within its walls. The mirror still hung there, a portal to a place of shadows and despair, and within its depths Mia Gray remained trapped, her silent scream a constant echo in the silence of the abandoned room. Some say that on the anniversary of her disappearance, if you stand before the mirror and listen closely, you can hear her voice, faint and mournful, calling out for help. A chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some reflections best left unobserved. The Mirror Man had claimed another victim, and the Bramford Hotel stood as a silent testament to its insatiable hunger.